Let's bring the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Groves.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Patrick.
Excused.
Randall.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Mayor Cramblett.
Here. Additions or amendments to the agenda?
None, Your Honor, unless you want to move Sheriff English up to the front, since he doesn't have to sit through all of our business.
Yeah, I'm good with that. So, we're going to do that. Not yet, though.
Okay.
But it's close. Adoption of consent agenda, which is approval of September 14, 2020 minutes. Ratification of the bills in the amount of $99,019.12.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved to second to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay. Public hearing.
Well, let's do the public hearing after we.
Let's do, yeah, because that could be a little while. So we'll get the sheriff. Come on up.
All right. Thank you, and thanks for having me. So I talked to Mr. Zimmerman and understood that perhaps the council had some questions, needed some answers or clarification on things. So I'm happy to do that and kind of give you an update on where things are at as well, and whatever you're looking for.
So why don't you start with an update, and then we'll go some questions there.
You bet. So as you know, in May, the voters approved a countywide public safety levy, and so that levy has an effect on the current fiscal year that we started in July. So what it did for the sheriff's office immediately was allow us to fill the open positions, or begin to fill the positions that we have. Currently, we had 4 at the time of the election. I was able to fill one of those, and we're currently hiring 3 more. Hope to have 3 more on within the next 6 weeks. Unfortunately, with the COVID crisis, it's really pushed the police academy back, and so we were seeing times historically of about 4 to 6 weeks from day to hire until somebody was in the academy, which is 16 weeks long. But now we, for instance, the deputy that we hired mid-June, he doesn't have a date to go to the academy until November 30th. And so it's really kind of pushed back our training schedule and slowed things down a little bit for us. But we've been able to adapt to that, and still getting good quality applicants and things like that. So we're in pretty good shape, hopefully going forward, and then we will add another deputy next fiscal year and one after that. And the contract with the city of Cascade Locks, as I've talked about before, that's a priority for us. So it's always filled. We've got it in the patrol rotation. So our deputies bid on that shift every quarter. And we ensure that is always filled. And it seems to be going really smoothly. We've had some deputies that will work 6 or 9 months of that shift. because they like the community, like working down here. And it's a little bit different feel than in the River Valley. But all in all, we're moving forward. It's a slow process. It takes, when we hire new people, it takes us a year from the time that we advertise a position until we have a deputy that is good to go on their own. And, as we're seeing with COVID, that's probably going to slow things down even a little bit more. But we're getting back slowly, and hopefully we'll see some more service improvements in the next calendar year.
So do you believe that the funding that you're getting from that, because sometimes we go after something, we can't get everything we want. Do you believe that you got everything you're gonna need for that? So you feel a lot more comfortable where?
Yeah, it's never a perfect solution, but it puts us in a lot better position. It makes our enforcement division essentially immune from cuts, where we were facing cuts for multiple fiscal years in a row, and that was part of the cause of people leaving because of lack of security. So we've been able to secure those positions. So if nothing else, it secures those positions, which is a big deal.
And I know you were down on detectives for things too. Are you getting that back then too?
Yeah, we still have 2 detectives right now, but we are down another one, and that position was assigned to the Regional Drug Task Force, and that one has been vacant for over a year. And so as we add people, we'll be able to add that position back, but down the road a little bit.
Good. So, who has questions?
With the way politics are, we all watch the news and everything, and it's a tough time to be a police officer. Have you had any of these issues, and has it affected your ability to hire and retain officers?
Just very minor. There's people that are voicing opinions, but it has been, probably 10 to 1 the other way, where we've had a lot of people reaching out and thanking us, and we get letters regularly. I got a couple today thanking us for what we're doing. And we feel supported in this county and in this community. And so, there hasn't been really a lot of backlash at this point. And, we try to be, I'm really big on transparency, and we try to be very transparent with the public and communicate well and things like that. So I think that helps. And it has not affected the amount of people that are applying. We had 42 people test for our last positions that were advertising, about 30 that submitted applications after passing testing. And so we had a good people from, a few years ago, we've seen as low as 10 or 12 applications. So we're in pretty good shape now. A little bit surprising because there has been a lot of negativity and a lot of, certainly the news has been filled with a lot of political stuff in the last 6 months, 4 months, and but we're in good shape.
Your Honor, the Norcor has been talked about again. Could you clarify exactly what's going on and how that affects the county's ability to take people to Norcor?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things going on. So in March, county jails and the state prison system also were affected by the COVID crisis and continue to be affected by that. And so we've had to reduce our population within the facility to ensure that we have social distancing, ensure that we're keeping everybody safe within the facility, not only the people that are in custody, but the staff and the work there. And so that continues to be a challenge, and that's a challenge statewide. All the jails are dealing with that, and so we're a little more selective on who goes into custody and who stays in custody. The court system's been deeply affected as well, so it's kind of all of the criminal justice system, and the jail's a component of that. So that's one piece that's going on. The other piece that was in the news recently was that the Norcorps board voted to end the contract with immigration that had been basically in place since about 1999 or 2000, right around the time the facility opened. And a lot of that decision was based on financial reasons. Norcorps, in order to keep the contributions from the member counties down, has to have external revenues. And so we have a contract with the United States Marshal Service now at Norcorps, which replaces that revenue that was coming from ICE. And frankly, the last couple of years, there have been very, very few prisoners from immigration within Norcorps. I think we were down to maybe 2 when the contract ended. So, and then we still have a contract with Benton County, Oregon, and I think we house 35 prisoners.
Somebody else's turn.
What's that?
I said, let somebody else talk.
Oh, okay. So, Jules, did you have any question? Glenda, did you have any questions?
I don't, thanks.
Glenda, did you have any questions? Bruce, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, thank you.
Bruce, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, Your Honor. I'd just like to thank the sheriff for coming down and talking to us and being there for us. So appreciate that.
Richard?
Yes, Your Honor. First, I want to thank Sheriff English for everything that he does and how we appreciate law enforcement. And I just want to ask a couple questions about the joint strategic planning with other law enforcement agencies and the criminal justice agencies. Has the current situation politically made you change or switch any of that up with other agencies? And if so, what might those be?
No, we, one of the real tenets for me is relationships. And so we have a lot of relationships that were already established, and we work really closely, not only within this county, but within the region. We have great relationships with other law enforcement agencies. We regularly work with Clackamas County, Multnomah County, Skamania County, Wasco County, the Dallas Police, and so those have been great.
So obviously, your department doesn't have capabilities of some of them others. So you probably can't be reciprocal 100% on some of the issues. So it's like give and take, and the decisions were made to go with the strong points of each department, what they might have to offer.
Right, and yeah, and that's it. That holds true even when we're full staff. And we work together. We try to regionalize things. For instance, we have a regional tactical team with Dallas Police and with Sherman County Sheriff's Office. And so we all train together there, and if there are agencies that have strengths or pieces of equipment or programs that are beneficial, we all work together on that. And there is a regional agreement in the Mid-Columbia area. All law enforcement agencies on both sides of the river have, it's called the Mid-Columbia Law Enforcement Agreement, basically, and everybody participates in that, and we meet occasionally and help each other out.
All right. Yeah, I think that's all I have. But thank you, sir.
You bet.
Appreciate everything you do for us. I'll take that back. I do have one quick thing. And, I know there's a lot of people in this community that's concerned about if a major upheaval or something happened here, and what resources would be available to us through law enforcement, not the state, not the federal government, but your department in general. Because I know that And in probably a bad situation, I'm sure you would probably be using your agreement to have help come in. But it's such a tricky situation these days because things can happen at the same time in different areas and cause you guys to thin out. So that we understand all that, but I think the main reason why people wanted to come out here is to reassure them that the community is being looked after, adequately enough to head off any major problems. But there are some major problems that could afflict this community.
Absolutely, yeah. We, again, we work real closely with our partners, and we would have to rely on them if it was something that required a lot of staffing to help us out. But I don't have any concerns that would happen. And a lot of times you don't even have to ask because they just tell you we're going to send people. But we also, as all of public safety in the county is talking and has planned for these events, we've done some kind of training, dry runs and things like that, and looked at these situations and in preparation. So it's not something that would necessarily catch us off guard, and we'd be ready to respond to that. And again, there's what's that?
I'm sure that you are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reciprocation, not only within the region, but just as an example, in the last week, we've sent some deputies that were available down to Lane County in the Holiday Farm Fire, and they've been helping them. I have a deputy actually driving back right now, and they would reciprocate on that. And we saw that during the Eagle Creek Fire was a really good example. We had agencies from around helping and people reaching out from far away that would have helped should we have needed it.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Gordon, I just have several questions for you. Appreciate, again, you coming and our relationship. Have you found any solutions to homeless street camping yet?
We unfortunately just kind of deal with those issues as they come up, but certainly no fix. It's an issue that we see throughout the state and in the West. It's pretty prevalent these days, and I am on a member of a committee that was put together by the city of Hood River to help come up with some solutions in the county. And a lot of it is resources, but there's some really great partnerships there to try to connect people so that we're not operating in silos. I feel pretty confident about that, and that there will be some solutions. And just, there's some resources out there, I think, that we're just kind of becoming aware of. It's really, we've got to find places for these people to go. And help, with that. So, and so there's some things happening, there's discussions happening at more of a kind of a county level. And I think that, we may find some solutions there. But, when we get reports, for instance, in the city here, we'll go out and deal with them. We certainly have to operate within the constraints of the law, and how we handle those calls.
The next issue is traffic enforcement. I know with the east wind, people like to do U-turns in the middle of Wampa. I know we've had at least one accident where somebody who was doing a U-turn got hit by somebody else. Is there any way we can increase, improve? How can we help you with that?
So the deputy that is working down here this quarter, I shared your letter with her, and then she was pulling some statistical information for me. So she's aware of that, and we'll continue to just make sure that that's something that is reinforced with whoever is assigned down here, that is a priority for the city. But certainly our deputies are always working traffic in between calls and things like that. And we'll make sure, though, that's underscored.
I have a stop sign at my house that is routinely, okay. And finally, you've seen it, drug houses. We passed the chronic nuisance ordinance that I sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna success with the first one that we've tried, but is there anything else we could do to help with these chronic houses that attractive nuisances?
I think what's really important is to ensure that we're receiving all the reports on these things. So I know that sometimes some residents within the city may report something to the city administration or it's through other avenues and not law enforcement. So it's important to loop us in so that we can be aware of that. And every report that we receive, every call we receive, goes into a computer system, and that's archived so we can go back and look at calls, we can map areas, and we can go all the way back to about the year 2000 and get a good picture.
And just so that the council knows, and it's in my staff report tonight, 119 and 125 regulator is in the process of being purchased by a contractor out of Beaverton, and there's a legal issue. Mr. Weingold, who started first, Conrad Weingold, the dad, started this process in 2018 of making this sale. But then he passed away in the middle of it, so they had to go through probate, get it to Colette. Well, in the midst of the probate, Mr. Weingold was in prison, woman, got an attorney, and the attorney got his name put on the probate instead of Colette's. So as soon as that's clarified, then the sale will go through, the money is already in escrow. So those two houses will be sold and torn down and replaced, which is a huge win for all the whole neighborhood. So just let you know about that. That's all I have.
Okay. So, and from my end of it, the staff that you have, you seem to be, from the ones that I deal with, your deputies, you've got some really great deputies. And I'm seeing newer ones come up, and every one that I deal with is very professional. And you can tell very committed to what they're trying to do in a very professional way. So I do appreciate your hiring practices. To me, you've really picking up some really good people. Hopefully, you're able to hang on to them. I haven't met with the newest one yet you have down here, but I've met with a few of the other ones. But I've heard good things about the newest one you have down here too. So I appreciate that for the town. I don't know whether, I'm assuming the talk that you gave took care of a lot of the questions that people have. I think probably the biggest thing is the fact that we're so short staffed, and it looks like that's coming back for you. So I think that gets the citizens feeling a bit better about what's going on here. So I appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, and kind of to piggyback on that, it's been pretty common knowledge that we lost 24-hour coverage about a year and a half ago. And so part of that levy is to get that back, and that will happen. But in the interim, if there are times when there are emergency calls that come out when we don't have deputies on duty, we respond. And we've been responding very quickly because we have 2 people every night of the week on call, and they keep all their stuff ready at the door, and they are out the door within a couple minutes and on their way to the calls. And so we've looked at our response times, and they're not they're really not very long. And even compared to if you had somebody on duty, because if you had somebody in the valley and you had a call down here or vice versa, it may be a 20-minute response time. And so we're really not seeing a lot of issues with the response. It's burning our deputies out. And so they certainly don't want to continue this practice forever because it's, you're on call all night, and it's kind of the pits when you try to have a personal life. But as we add deputies and get people trained up, then we're able to increase the coverage.
Yeah, and it does appear, I'm sure some people would assume that the way things are at and the attitude that a lot of folks have towards, that you're going to have a hard time getting good quality people. But like I say, everything that I see that you're acquiring are really, you're getting some really good, in my mind, what I can tell are really good quality people, so, yeah.
Yeah, and you
So
know,
you're not having to just go out and hire any old person. You're getting enough applications, you can go, yeah, you fit really well with us.
it's, you know, certainly in this day and age and you know, like Mr. Walker was talking about earlier, in this political environment, we can't compromise. We've got to have high quality, high integrity people that work for our community, and I won't compromise on that. So if we end up getting somebody that's not a quality candidate, we're not just going to push them through to fill a spot. I mean, it's got to be the right person for the community, and they've got to be have that high integrity.
Well, it appears to me you're there, so I appreciate that. So, no more questions here? Oh, Gordon.
So I'm sure Matt's seen this. There's a resource guide for the Columbia River Gorge that lists all the agencies that we put each one in your box. We have a box of them over there that we can hand out to people. And there's a lot of resources for employment, law enforcement, counseling, suicide prevention. It's all a directory of all of the agencies up and down the gorge for you to have if you know somebody needs some help.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Sheriff English, would you, if the city was to install a security camera system along Wanapah and highlighting some of the areas that tend to have some criminal activity, and we had a monitoring station placed in like the fire hall, would you see that as a benefit for your department, or?
You know, potentially, there are certainly some legal challenges with public camera systems, and there, you know, you get into some privacy issues and things like that. So, if it wasn't a legal nightmare for the city, it could certainly be, you know, there could be some benefit to it. A lot of times, what we see when we may have a crime that's occurred at a business or something like that, we're checking for security cameras there and in the area, and a lot of times they're not working, or the video quality is poor, and so it isn't as much of as an assist as we would like. But you know, it could certainly help in some situations.
Even under the best, Your Honor,
yes.
even under the best conditions, we do not have 24-hour coverage, 7 days a week here in Cascade. What can we do as citizens? If you could pick a couple things that our citizens could do to help things along, to make our neighborhoods safer, what would those be?
Be professional witnesses. If you see something happening, gather that information, make sure that you get good information, good description of people, good descriptions of vehicles, license plates if you can get them safely. We want people to be safe when they're doing that. We don't want them to get into a confrontation and try to stop some sort of criminal activity. Be a good neighbor. Make sure that you're watching out for your neighbors and their property. If they're gone, if you're going to be gone, go tell your neighbor that I'm going to be out of town for a few days so that they can keep an eye out. And I've talked about this before, just make sure that things are reported to us, because we'll respond, we'll follow up on it, even if it's something that happens when there may not be a deputy in town. We'll follow up on it. That call will be attended to, and it's important that we know those things. That's when we can start to build kind of patterns of things, and information from one incident may actually lead to us solving a crime that's occurred on the other side of town, just because some of that information matches. And so just be good witnesses and report things. You know, once we get through the COVID crisis and we can start meeting in larger groups, I'm always happy to either have myself or somebody from our office would love to do a community meeting, come talk to the community, talk about issues and through those, and be a sounding board and give advice where we can, and because we'd like to know what's going on in the communities that we're serving.
So Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. So anybody else have questions? Glenda, still none? Bruce, you still good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Bruce, you still good? Julie, you still good?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Julie, you still good?
All right, you bet. And I would just,
I'm still good, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
all right, you bet. And I would just end by saying I really value the relationship that our office has with the city of Cascade Locks, and it's really important to us that we continue to provide great service, and that you're happy with the service that we provide. And I am always happy to come talk to the council.
All right, thank
All right?
you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. Public hearing. Community Development Code amendments. So, let's see here. So, I guess the statement I make is the public hearing on proposed amendments and clarification of the text of the Cascade Locks Community Development Code is now open. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Summary of staff reports, public testimony, present or written testimony, close hearing, deliberate.
So the summary of the staff report. If you remember last year, we had an issue with George Fisher and his driveway and trying to figure out what was the best way to make it fit. And with all of the parameters that are outlined in our community development plan, that launched us on a year-long effort to make the community development code and the public works design standard match. Either changing the design standards to fit the community development code, or change the community development code to fit the design standards. That was the less preferred option, because the community development code is ordinance adopted policy set by the city council. And we, after going through an extensive review with our contract planner, with the planning commission on at least 3 different meetings, we have determined, and the latest planning commission took a look at the changes to the community development code. And these are the clarifications that are outlined. I don't know if you want to go through them line by line, or if you had a question for those, but that's basically what this effort was to make the community development code be reflective, to make the public works design standards be reflective of the community development code, the standards that are contained, and to take out the contradictory standards. For example, in one place it said your driveway had to be 15 feet, another place it said it had to be 20 feet, another place it said 30 feet with a 20-foot driveway. So we've gone through and we've corrected some grammar, we've corrected the contradictions and conflicts, so that we can adopt the community development code. This is an ordinance adopted, and that's why you have an ordinance later, the first reading of ordinance number 453.
Okay, so public testimony. Do you have any public here that want to testify on this? Well, I've got one written one here. No, we want to, okay. So I have one written here. It's, please read the following comments into the record for the city council meeting on September 28th, 2020.
Your Honor,
Yes,
that is for the resolution, not the community development code.
excuse me?
That's for the resolution, not the community development code.
So it's gonna be for the whole thing that's going on here.
Yeah, no, that's for the next item, that's not for 5.
But that resolution is in part, that resolution happens to become part of that resolution is affected into the development code.
No, the resolution adopts the public works design and construction standard. It does not the resolution does not impact the development code, other than it makes it agree to the community development. So I
Okay,
think-
well, the rest of the rest of the letter here, I think, does follow into what's in the community development code. So what they would be saying, in the resolution or in the development code, is a major change to the public works design standards, that's the development code, document without adequate analysis by the contract planner on the need for these changes, or the effects these changes will have on the citizens of Cascade Locks. Then number two, the notice of public hearing by the planning commission failed to notify the public that a review of or possible revisions to the public works design standards were on the agenda. Thus, the public was deprived of the opportunity to comment either for or against the changes. And it has a copy of the public notice is attached. So he's asking the city council should table 8-6.11.050 design standards, residential and non-residential section of ordinance 453 until COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. The changes proposed appear to change the requirements for sidewalk construction. Okay, so that's,
Is that the width change on Main Street that they're referring to?
is the what?
Is this referring to the width change on Main Street? Before, it said,
It's talking about sidewalk, it's talking about where, in the code in here, when you're reading it, the standards is we're taking the development code, which apply to private parties or larger parties,
So
and bringing them into street standards.
I believe it is the requirement, sidewalks should be required wherever curbs are required. That's where Mr. Monkoff is concerned. If I could go to his letter, the changes to public work design standard are adopted by resolution. And we're trying to make the community development code. This all started when Mr. Monkoff and Mr. Larry Granville was on the planning commission and wanted this to make sure things matched. And this particular requirement was if there are curbs right now, then if somebody develops on property behind that curb, they need to put in a sidewalk. That's what this says. If you're in a subdivision, you gotta put a sidewalk and curb in anyway. Our transportation system plan, which was adopted in 2001, says there will be sidewalks on all streets eventually, as it's developed. And that's, again, this supports that policy document, the transportation system plan adopted in 2001. This particular statement has been reviewed by the planning commission on 3 separate occasions. It has been reviewed by a contract planner on at least, for the last year, because we started it, we got started in October of last year. We had it in, I think it was December and January, then COVID hit, and then we had it the last planning commission. And the current planning commission is fine with this language. So I appreciate Mr. Monkoff's input, but again, it's to make sure this document follows the transportation system plan and is consistent with our public works design standard. If you have to put in a curb, you have to put in a sidewalk. That's what this says.
and if there's a curb there now,
Right, if you do any infill where there's a curb, you put in a sidewalk.
okay.
That's what this intent. I don't think he's talking about the minimum sidewalk width. That's the design standard. He's concerned about sidewalks. He's always been against putting sidewalks in town. And that's been one of my challenges.
There have been instances where a new development, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You've got basically a piece of sidewalk that does nothing in front of a new house.
Except it improves that new house and the value of that new house. And eventually, when both sides do either major changes, you try to get to sidewalks. That's what makes the town walkable.
Yeah, I understand that, but that time frame could be 10, 20 years,
Exactly.
and people don't see it that way. There are some that,
I appreciate that, but if you don't start, you'll never get there.
that's true.
Kim?
Well, and for instance, I think this kind of all started with, one of our citizens putting in the sidewalk on a street. So in this case, she would not have to put in a sidewalk because that's not a curb street. And that's where this whole thing started, was a sidewalk put in over on Crest Street. So this can still be put in place. It still would not make someone in that neighborhood, that street, have to build a sidewalk because there's no curb there.
Okay, mine, and I don't know if that's our time for,
Yeah, that's public testimony.
yeah, so we're still public testimony.
I'm sorry, I just have some questions. Gordon and I live off of Windsong up in the new development. And as Windsong comes down the hill and goes around, I think that becomes Sheridan. There's houses there that don't have sidewalks, and none of those houses are more than, well, one of them at least is less than 3 years old. How did that happen?
Okay, so, are we talking where the street narrows?
Where the street narrows and you can hardly get around
Yes,
to
okay.
get down it, it's
That was the
dangerous.
subdivision that was approved
2005.
2005, and they approved that without sidewalks. That's that portion of the subdivision without sidewalks. Don't ask me why. We have to live with the sins of the past while we create the sins of the future. So, there's no room for a sidewalk. You can't put a sidewalk there because it's gonna either fall off the hill or you're gonna have to dig in and put a retaining. But that's just for the narrow part. But the rest of the subdivision, where it's feasible, they have to have curb sidewalks.
So if the rest of it is developed eventually going down those hills, and I'm understanding they can add a few more houses, they don't have to put sidewalks in?
Those three do not have, those three lots do not have to, because that was what was approved in 2005.
There's no way to change that?
There may be a way to change
If
that.
you're walking up that hill to get to the park, or riding a bike, it's very dangerous.
Okay, are we talking the narrow part by Windsong or the narrow part by the child?
Coming up, the people from down below come
From
up
up
that
Sheridan.
hill to go to the park.
Yes.
And people ride their bikes up and down that hill, and it narrows, and there's no sidewalk on either side. There's no way to get out of the way, and you've got people that park on the street, and you've got people who have boats, and
The
they come
signs-
out into the street from their parking space.
I understand. The signs are ordered for no parking on both sides of that narrow street. But that's the best we can do for that.
So
300 feet.
if they build 3 more houses there, you can't require them to put in sidewalks.
It's not in the.
You can't go back and do
I
that
cannot.
now.
Because like Bobby said, it'd be sidewalk to nowhere. But
Yeah, we
we
connect
can't,
with the
we can't
sidewalks that are down on Sheridan.
well, there are sidewalks on Sheridan,
Right, and so there's that section from Sheridan as you turn to go up the hill.
up to your house.
You could have sidewalks that
You
would go
cannot.
down to Sheridan, so those people that are walking up or riding the bike, like, going up the hill, have a place, at least you can't do that?
It's already approved. The subdivision has already been approved the way it is.
Sure, so it appears to me, the ordinance that you're putting in, that we're looking at putting in here, this ordinance is doing that change. This ordinance is saying, if you put a house in here, and there's a curb out there, there's a curb there, correct? You've got to put a sidewalk in. So this ordinance is saying anybody in this town, developer, no development, if you're attaching to a city maintained street and there's a curb there, you gotta put in a sidewalk. That's how I read it.
The subdivision was approved in 2005. Now, if they want to come in and change the subdivision, change the plan, yes, then we can do the sidewalk. But it's been approved since 2005.
This ordinance is what's changing it.
No, the ordinance can't change that portion because it's an approved subdivision with the curb already in place. I would love.
Then why would it change anywhere where anybody has a curb and they didn't have to put a sidewalk in?
Because Forest Lane's not a subdivision. Wampaw is not a subdivision. It wasn't approved
Yeah,
as a
see, I don't-
subdivision.
And that's my problem with this is there's a lot of information in here. There's a lot of things going on. And in this era of COVID, I guarantee you the three people there on that phone are not understanding what's going on here. And the citizens are not understanding what's going on. And it's a pretty major thing that we're giving to the citizens. And it just seems to me that you wait till this is not hurting anything to keep doing what we're doing. And it seems to me, I agree that we should probably table this thing and wait till there's a time where people can get together and hear and make testimony, read things and be part of it. 'Cause this is gonna this affects a lot of people in our town, not just us. It affects a lot of people, and in my mind, they don't, because what we're in, they don't get the opportunity. They're not coming to these things, they're not coming to them because of COVID, not necessarily because they don't want to have input in this thing. Because I believe that there's some things in here that have potential unintended consequences. And I think that a public hearing where more public comes and looks at it has, because right now we're just saying, all right, planning, good job, you went through the stuff, and now we're gonna go on through with it. But it doesn't appear to me that planning had enough public input on these changes. So that's where I just believe that it should be tabled until more people, including the council, can understand because every time we have a meeting, we have a hard time with everybody trying to understand what we're saying, what we're doing. So,
Okay.
that's where I am with the council, so.
Well, I agree with Tom, and that's one of the reasons I'm here in person is the sound quality, for whatever reason. Maybe it's mask, maybe it's tone, I don't know, but it is at times very difficult to understand what's being said. So I don't have any issue with tabling it. And it doesn't appear to me that there's any huge rush to make these changes.
Been waiting for a year, so that's okay.
Yeah,
I probably should count to 10 first. Very upsetting as staff who has worked on this, and I'm telling you, put in many hours. And I feel like, I love Cascade Locks. I've lived here forever. I love all my people here and working in this job. The hours that has been put in, starting last year, I think November is not before. Public meetings. Advertised. All of our agendas and meetings are on our website. We had to advertise with the state 45 days in advance. This was before COVID time of this public hearing. Had to cancel everything, postpone everything, and work with the state till the planning commission was up again last time and heard it. It's advertised. You can write in testimony, you can call in, anybody can call in anytime, including council. Not one person, not one citizen until this email, I think today, I'm not sure when it came in, there hasn't been one question from anybody. Not one question, not one comment from any citizen or council or planning commissioner. And I even sent out several emails because we had 2 new commissioners, sent out their stuff way in advance, their packet, their information way in advance, weeks in advance. Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? Because the new people I didn't know, here's the past minutes, they're all online. Is there anything we can help you with? There was nothing. So to me, to postpone it because one person decides to email today and use COVID, it's not going to be very nice. To use COVID as an excuse is just wrong. I think our citizens has had every opportunity, I think our council has had every opportunity to read the material and to ask questions if they had any. So if we're postponing this and we're going to say it's because of COVID and COVID continues, because the news said this winter could be horrible. I mean, how long? And the Public Works Design Standards, what we're having trouble with the Public Works Design Standards, which is not, a public hearing is not required for that. The only reason it went to Planning Commission was so that they could see how the development code worked with the Public Works Design Standards. The Public Works Design Standards is a council issue and a resolution. It has nothing to do with a public hearing or the Planning Commission. It's not in their purview to approve that. We deal with new houses every day coming into Shahala and Winsong. And we have to deal with these 2 documents. And the conflicting part, it doesn't make us look very good, city-wise. It's an effort to try to get this stuff put together and make it work. And the Planning Commission, I think they did a pretty darn good job at looking at it and reviewing it, and at the public hearing, which people could look online and look at those minutes if they chose to. Did anybody come to the public hearing at the Planning Commission? Not one person showed up or called or commented online or anything else. I just think it's sad. And yes, you guys are the decision makers, and if you don't think anybody has had ample time to deal with this, I guess so be it. I'm just saying as staff, it's incredibly disappointing because staff has put a whole lot of time in the city, has actually paid quite a bit of money for the planners' time to try to take care of this.
Your Honor, and Kathy, there's no question that you've worked very hard on this, and I appreciate your work. I would still like an opportunity to look at it. But here's what I propose. You're right that we can't put it up. To use COVID is tough because is that going to be a year? Is it going to be 6 months? Depending on who you listen to, it's going to be another year. So here's what I propose is that we give ourselves until the next meeting to ask questions one final time and give anybody at home an opportunity to ask their questions, regardless of your hard work and all the things that staff has done. And I appreciate it. But let's go with a drop dead date of next meeting. That's it. We're going to take a vote.
Your Honor,
Richard,
I'd be willing to go ahead and suspend it until then. But we need to pass this. I agree with a lot of what's being said in both directions. But at the same time, as long as this is undone, just like Kathy was saying, doesn't look good, and it just leaves room for more complaints and more issues to happen. I think we need to finalize it, and then if there are issues in the future, then go to the planning commission and maybe have them make a couple of changes and do it again. There's no reason why we can't. But I believe that I do believe it's prudent for us to take care of this. I looked through this personally, and I looked at all the changes that were made. And it seems to me that most of them changes were made because of situations that brought them to light over time. And that's going to continue to happen. No matter if it was perfect, there's still going to be an issue in the future. I think we need to accept it. I'm willing to wait another to the next council meeting, but I'm going to vote on it then.
There's nothing stopping about, Your Honor, there's nothing stopping a vote now. I mean, I've said my piece, Rick said his, I think we heard you pop in, but there's nothing that's stopping us from
No, if someone wants
taking
to
that
make a
vote
motion, they
back.
can make a motion.
Okay, we're just deliberating, we gotta wait till we get 5B or 5C before you make a motion. But if you make a motion and it fails, then only a member of the winning side can bring it back.
But there's no vote tonight
There's no, for the ordinance,
for the ordinance.
there was a vote for the resolution.
Oh.
So, I'm comfortable, and I'll try and get Kathy comfortable with waiting till October 12th. If you consider it, and in the meantime, we're gonna try and ask that's the next council meeting, is October 12th. And we'll try and get the city attorney to do an interpretation on the Windsong area as far as sidewalks are concerned, so we can have that clarified. And we'll just take these two, 5B and 5C, and bring it back to you on October the 12th.
But there will be a vote taken at that time.
Vote on the resolution, but
Not the ordinance.
first reading on the ordinance.
Right.
Because we actually have a couple other changes on the ordinance that we were gonna propose to you tonight. We'll take this 2 weeks on sign code. And we will incorporate those changes and bring it back to you, so you'll have a more complete.
And people have the right, after we run it through the first reading,
Right.
people can have their input
Right,
until the second reading.
that's correct, which would be October 24th.
Yeah.
And they can email,
And,
and it could be in writing, just
but-
like Mr. Munkoff did.
So the tenor, Your Honor, if I can be so bold, is to postpone this until the 12th of October.
Well, I'm good with that. I don't know if we have we're gonna have to have some more. Glenda, are you hearing what's going on here?
Well, I appreciate all the time and effort that's gone into this, trying to get this fixed. But me sitting here and trying to hear everything that's going on in that council room is very, very hard. I can hear some people very well and others I cannot hear. I did not hear any questions from that council room, hardly, that was asked of the sheriff. Now I hear bits and pieces of this, and I understand there's a lot going on here, and I'm not coming into the council room. If that's going to be thrown at me, I want to be able to hear what everyone is saying that has to do with this resolution, this ordinance. Now, something has to be done to the sound that we're getting on the phone. I'm sorry, but every meeting is the same. You cannot hear everything that's going on. I understand. It's my choice not to be in that council room. But it's also my choice to be able to hear everything that's going on and make a decision. So my opinion is we need to postpone this to the next meeting. I'll read through every bit of this ordinance. And hopefully, there'll be better sound on this to where I can understand what's going on and actually make a good decision for the community. And that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And we continue to do these meetings over the phone like this, and we continue not to be able to hear what's going on. I've said it many times, and I don't see anything different. I mean, I hear Bobby good. I can hear Richard in and out. Gordon wants in and out. Tommy, you're muffled. I'm sorry. It's not a good situation.
My wife says I'm loud.
So that's all I got to say.
No, Your Honor. If Glenda, were you finished?
Are you finished, Glenda?
I am finished. Thank you, yes I am.
I just wanted to say, Your Honor, that I agree with everything that Glenda said. It's very tough to hear, for whatever reason, your voice.
Is that right?
It is. I don't know if it's a tone thing. I don't even know why. I would like to discuss later why we use the method that we use. I called in the last meeting, and I was in Florida, and I'm telling you, everything just disappeared. I finally hung up. Where, it just, the sound quality is very bothersome. And I agree with what Glenda said, that the magnitude of importance of some of these decisions, we got to hear every word, and we're just not doing it. So we got to come up, it's very important, we got to come up with something that works.
Well, from our end of it, we don't go to planning, and council is supposed to go to planning, as I understand it. So I don't get this until I just got this. So to say I looked this over and had a lot of time to look at it, I didn't have a lot of time. It's a pretty good sized document with lots of changes in it. So, yeah, so that's part of the issue. But part of the issue is the council, like, we are supposed to be deliberating to do things for our citizens. So it's just not about us, but it is about us to be able to deliberate. And the other part of it is everything we're doing is supposed to be in relation to what we can do in the expectations of our citizens on things that we deliberate on. And yes, we're having a really hard time with that. But this is going to be an ordinance. This is going to be an ordinance. We're creating a law that's going to be in here. That's as high as we go with things. And yeah, I think because of the times, and I'll put it on COVID or whatever, we're having a hard time with this thing. And it may have been out there for a long time, but I don't get the whole thing. You've been working on this bits and pieces for years, whatever. But you finally put together a full package. And I just got that full package and I don't get to be part of the whole workup to it. I've got the package now. And yeah, I'm just saying we need more time with that, with that package.
Where are you at on?
Bruce, where are you at on extending this?
Well, I looked at about half of it. There is a lot there. And yeah, for some reason tonight the sound quality seems worse than last week. But I've been catching most of this, and it seems like the biggest issues are over existing curbs. But and yeah, I guess I'm okay with waiting 2 weeks till everybody's comfortable, and we can review it more. I mean, because there's been a lot of work put into it, and so we need to vetted a little bit more thoroughly, at least I do. I mean, it seems like they're all good changes, and I understand that there was conflicts and things, and this just irons them out, but I need to look at it closer. I'd like to.
Jules.
And that's.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce. Something else you want to say, Bruce?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Hey, Jules. Is there anything you want to say on it? Julie? Okay, well, it sounds like.
That's what happened to me.
Just lost her?
Yep.
Okay, well, it sounds like,
You got enough.
yeah, it sounds like we'll look for the next meeting. So, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We'll go into that. So that's what we'll do. We'll bring it up again. Bring it up again in the next meeting. All right.
We're closing the hearing, and they've done deliberated.
Yeah, we'll close the hearing here.
Thank you.
Okay, where am
We're all the way
I?
down
Where's
to
my agenda? Where's my agenda there? So we're by B and C then, correct?
right.
Okay. Appearance of interested citizens.
I'm sorry, I'm lost. I don't have the agenda in front of me.
Well, this is the time for citizens to have their chance to get up, have something to say, come on up to the table. And
Well, okay,
let
I'll
us
do
know who
that.
we are.
Hi, I'm Connie Batasio, and I moved to the community of Cascade Locks the end of November, first part of December last year. The packet that you have in front of you is all just new information to me. I don't know how I would have known about it had I not stopped by your meeting. So evidently I don't go on the website and I don't read things and I don't have a printer, so I couldn't have printed it off. And I can't even go to the library anymore to print things off. It's frustrating. So, but I would like to be involved. I would like to know more about these decisions. I'd like to know where to get a packet like that had to do with the ordinances. I'm trying to speak loudly so Glenda can hear me. And I would like to be more involved in some of those decisions now that I am part of the community. So my husband and I have lived in Hood River, and so in the county, so we're somewhat familiar with Cascade Locks, and we are very happy to be here. But I hope that I can get more information for later. It looks like some of that might affect us in the area where we live, so I would like to know more about it. But thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to share that.
Thank you. Oops.
Butcher Miller, citizen. Mr. Mayor, what concerns me right now is your system. And what are you going to do to correct it? Can you not go to Zoom? I mean, the Port Commission is using Zoom, and it's very reliable. They haven't had any issues as far as I know, and I've been on most of the port meetings with Zoom. So,
We can try it. Kathy wrote me a note, and I've just written it down myself about Zoom. We have one who's got to come in here anyway because he doesn't have a computer. I'm trying to figure out where I could set the computer in order to so that Zoom, they can see everybody that's here.
We're gonna project it.
well, yeah.
We couldn't have, don't know that we could, well, we may be able to.
Should.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna spend the next 2 weeks trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and individually, I mean, I've got Zoom on my iPhone and my iPad, so for individual people, and I can see everybody. Like, I have to scroll through it, but I don't see that there's a problem there. It's just,
Well,
So if we're doing Zoom, then I should be on Zoom. I shouldn't be coming here. It won't work as well if I'm here.
No, we're gonna have you here on
Be
Zoom.
here.
Having you can
Yeah, you can hear
control
me.
you from right here.
You have a
Okay.
laptop in front of you.
Okay, all right, because that's what I just assumed come and,
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
but I don't want to be the one screwing the whole thing up.
Sally Moore at the port would be a good person to talk to because she sets up the Zoom meetings for the port.
Right, no, I understand that, I'm just trying, if the people at home wanna do Zoom, I'm just trying to figure out how, so that we don't have computers in front of each of our desks, because we don't have the computers to do that. How to set one Zoom up and try and run it, but we'll take a look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have a laptop?
I can bring it.
Can you bring it, do you have a laptop you can bring to be on Zoom? And we'll get you, I got one, I'll get you one.
I got a Mac that my wife has,
My pad works.
but it doesn't work
Yeah.
well.
Even your phone will work.
Yeah, I got it.
I don't have a phone.
Show them your phone.
I don't have a phone.
So I have a little surface that we'll put in front of him. We'll figure it out.
Okay,
But we're gonna keep the phone system because that keeps a recording of who calls in and who's on it. Then try and talk loud enough. So, I mean, the polyphones blew up. We had to get it replaced. We were hoping that was gonna be improved about the song quality, but apparently it hasn't.
No, it's still.
But, the other thing is, we're trying to social distance here. Suppose you could watch it on YouTube.
You
I
either
bet you
can't
do.
hear it or you can't see it.
On YouTube,
Yes, there's always a problem with that one too.
yeah.
That's what I found.
The kids are doing virtual school, so it seems like there ought to be a way that we can do virtual meetings.
Well, yeah, the school supplied hotspots and computers to all the kids, so, I guess.
iPads
Yeah,
is what they're doing.
yeah,
Yeah, I did. Okay.
so maybe we buy a bunch of iPads.
Port did it.
A lot of folks do.
Okay, well,
okay. We're gonna look into it heavily. All right, reports and presentations, city committees,
we have none.
the county sheriff took care of that.
We'll take care of that.
City administrator's Zimmerman's report.
Thank you. Again, we're open for essential business through the end of October. I'm probably going to extend that to the end of the year because we just don't know what's going to happen. I have had my flu shot.
I'm getting my,
Okay. Our customers are doing very well on keeping up with their bills and paying them. We've rediscovered mail-in, you can send a check. Our paperless billing and online information system should be available January 1st, where you can go on and look at your last 12 months or 24 months of bills. You can see if there's any consistency, pay your bill online. Anyway, we're setting that all up now with, what's it called? Not iCloud. Invoice Cloud, thank you. A voice from the
Place from the great deal.
yeah. Again, COVID, stay home, stay safe if you can. We still have no known cases here in Cascade Locks, at least public health hasn't told us about anything. In case you missed it, and you drove down Wanapah today, we're paving, we're grinding, we're paving. The striping will be done at night, and I don't know if it's gonna be this week or next week, but they're gonna do it at night so that people don't drive over it, not have a chance to drive real good. And we're out to bid for our forest lane paving and striping. I already gave you the chronic nuisance update. The contractor is ready to go as soon as the legal issues are concerned. But I will count that as a success from our new ordinance. It's good. You asked to know what the city light crew's been doing. Well, they were doing really well till the day and the line truck died. We don't know exactly what's wrong with the line truck, but they're trying to get a mechanic in to figure it out, fix it. They were in the midst of
installing meter on a new home at the end of Benson. Public Works, they've been busy trying to keep everything down. Also the line crew last week went out and trimmed all of the lines, all of the trees and the power lines. So the high priority areas, everything, all the power lines are clear. They did that last week. They didn't want to do a list, they just went out and did it. Public Works, again, they're working with, they did the sewer connections on one file before the paving, so we didn't have to dig up the new paving to do that. They're cleaning the weeds up, they're keeping all the systems running. Had to move a fire hydrant as part of the ADA ramp work. Fire and EMS, they had 37, averaging 37 calls a month. Since January 1st, we've had 7 mutual aid requests from either Skamania County or Hood River County, and we have, where we had Skamania County come over. In the 9 months, we had 7 mutual aid assists, and we had 18 mutual aid assists between Skamania County and Hood River. So our staff is doing a really good job of responding.
Well, that's a turnaround.
That is a huge turnaround. The Water Systems Improvement Project, last Thursday, we had almost $4 million in our bank account. On Friday morning, we only had about $300,000. So we paid off the interim loan. Our first payment is due on September 25th next year. And I was going to have a discussion the next time about what you want to do with the bond payback. But it looks like there's going to be a lot on the agenda, so I may move that back to the 28th of October. But we will have that discussion pretty soon. I think I need to expand number 11, the new computer equipment purchase. We need to purchase $2,800 for 2 computers and 1 printer in the administration, EMS, and electric departments. It looks like we need to buy some iPads. Can I include iPads on the purchase and get what we need to have so that we can do Zoom meetings?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with it. I mean, it's. Thank you for the.
More. Glenda, you good? Let's give at least one more. Glenda, you good with that? Yeah. Or did you hear that? Did you hear that request, Glenda? Bruce, did you hear that request?
No, you're talking.
Okay. Oh, we're gonna get. We're gonna get one.
Yeah, we're gonna get them. All right, we're good.
We
I want to get a 4th one.
We applied for the TGM grant, the Transportation Growth Management Grant of $170,000 to update our 2001 transportation system plan. As usual, they had many more requests than they could fund. We were not selected for this round. Again, watch us on YouTube if you can stand it. Sorry. Or like us on Facebook. And for Connie, webpage is www.cascade-lock.or.us. And all of the agendas and all of the packets are all there for ever. And thank you.
All right, thank you. And, yeah, that nuisance. Well done on. Well done.
Well, I've got
Hope
my eye on
that moves ahead.
I've got my eye on the next one.
Okay. Mayor and City Council comments. Julie, comments? Yeah, we probably lost her. Glenda, comments?
I'm sure your report was very nice. Gordon, I'm sure your report was very nice, even though I heard only a portion of it.
I'm sorry, I tried to send it out. I tried to send it out today, but our email failed me.
I want to thank the staff for all they do. Oh my God.
Is that it? Are you still talking, Linda?
I think she's done.
I think she's done. Have I done Bruce yet?
No,
Bruce, comments?
I would just like to echo what Glenda said and, thank the staff for all they do, just make our part of this running the city a lot easier. That's all I have at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby?
I want to thank Kathy for all the hard work she's done in my 27 years of working for the government. I was frustrated many times, and believe me, I know what that looks like, because you just bust your tail trying to get something off your desk and get it up the chain, and there it sits. And so, again, no reflection on your work. I thank you and the rest of the staff for the work that you do. So this had nothing to do with.
And I'm sorry.
No, you had
I
every
didn't
right
get
to.
carried away.
We're going to talk tomorrow. I wanted to thank the fire chief again. The last couple weeks have been really tough for the whole West Coast, and our prayers go out to the folks that lost so much, big town and little town, both. The Malala was, kind of iffy for a while. Estacada, it's a pretty good sized town. We're in real jeopardy, and I know a lot of folks that live out that way. Detroit, so many other little places are, for all intents and purposes, gone. And I think the one thing I took away from this latest disaster is people's ability to know when to get the hell out of town. And you really can't be too conservative, to me. So many people were trapped, a young man and his grandma, that was just sad. They're in their pickup. Had they left maybe a minute earlier, who knows? But don't be afraid to, make that decision. And nothing you have in your house is worth your life. And so make yourself a little go bag, do all the things that they tell you to do. Take pictures and put all your information to where you can grab it, and just go. Have that ability to just go. That's it.
Richard?
Yes, again, I want to thank the staff of all departments for all the hard work and the different projects that they're working on and getting done. Also, just a reminder about the paving that's going on, that when people are out and about, just have patience, and I hear by the end of the month all the paving will be done, including Forest Lane, right? The end of October, maybe. Let's go. I'm so excited about it. It's going to add a refreshing atmosphere to downtown, not seeing the road all cracked and pitted and dented and
To see parking spaces.
yeah. So anyway, I don't know to what extent, but I noticed on a long range forecast that we're going to be hit with smoke coming up from California. So I just want everybody to know and be prepared for that. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but from what I've read, it's not supposed to be as bad as it was, but it's supposed to be very, very smoky.
Thanks. So I'll also thank the staff, because I do know you work hard, Kathy. I've been around, said you've helped me out on numerous things in here too. But it's just, and we're just adding some time to this. And I know, because you put a ton of time into it, but I do believe that there's a lot of information in there. And I did just get, that's when I get the information. And then I've got a concerned citizen. And so I'm just trying to, all I'm looking at is a little extra time. It's gonna get there. They're all going, they're saying, hey, we're gonna do this, and I'm good with it. What you've got behind you, you got a really good solid council behind you. So any one person like myself can throw a cog in something, but in general, you've really got a good council behind you, and I believe the council's gonna, I'm good with what the council's gonna come up with on this thing, so. And just as they're saying here, the whole council does appreciate what the staff does for them, even though we can be irritated at times. But everybody can be irritated at times.
Irritated and irritated.
I'm not irritated at all.
My wife's gotta deal with me every day.
And we pray for her.
So, again, from the fire side of it too, from our end of it, and it is tough when you see all these communities disappear. And we were in the same kind of situation. We had a big fire, big winds and everything. What we had that they didn't have. And had they had it, I think they all would have done well. We got started out with a west wind. And so the fires moved towards us a little slower. So the assets got here. I think we had 30, 40 fire trucks in town before the fire really got on us. And we had a couple of hotshot crews into the woods. I think any one of those communities, if they would have had that, it would have been a different story for every one of those communities. So we were very fortunate that it wasn't a big time east wind and the fire started on that side coming towards us and the assets that weren't here. But I think that what did happen to us is a good example of what firefighters can do for you. Because that is, in my mind, that is why we are still here. Because the assets were able to get here early enough on that thing and be able to spread out around town, be able to get into the woods, start making some fire breaks, divert the fire with backfire, because that's what they did. They shifted that fire around us 3 times. I mean, it had us, it was coming at us, but they moved it. Fire didn't move itself. Those hot shots moved that fire around us 3 different times, including the real big east wind times, because it was already past us and came back at us. So, yeah, so again, big kudos to what the firefighters can do. And we went up to Jesse Groves and I went to the fire camper information thing, not every day, but several days. And what they go, it's pretty amazing. What they just keep bringing up people, experts, whether it's weather, whether it's fire behavior, whether it's from the first aid side, whatever it is, somebody's coming up and giving information on what happened the day before and what they expect to happen that day, and where they're shifting assets and doing things. It's a pretty amazing thing that they do when it gets to a big event. So one of the other things I wanted to, so we were very fortunate. One of the things I want to get is can we put out for the downtown parking, because that's where all your issues going to be, it's all your side streets downtown. Can we put out some kind of a survey to the citizens and say, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you want to see happen, or just let it go? Because what's happening right now is our businesses, the newest business, which kudos to Thunder Island, they're up and running and they're doing great, but they've got a lot of customers, and their customers are all looking for places to park, and they're spilling really heavily into the residential areas, and I'm sure into the other business areas. So should we do a survey, because we're talking about trying to do something.
Here's what's happening, a couple things. We're gonna post the post office parking lot is 30 minutes on. We're actually painting parking spaces all up and down Waterfall, which we've never had before. And so we're gonna make it more efficient to park.
other than that two things, there's really not a lot we can do because we have no code enforcement other than me. And I don't have the ability to write tickets. I've not been trained, classified, certified to do that. I can post them, but by our ordinances, I gotta give them 72 hours to move the car, which kind of defeats the purpose of this thing. So I have seen where parking is an issue, putting courtesy notices on, said, hey, right now we have, because of the work being done on Wanapa, we have employees parking in the post office parking lot. I can't chase them off there because there's no place for them to go. So let's get it striped, let's
See what happens.
See what happens. The best thing we can do is kind of support the port in their effort to put 210 or 250 parking spaces down on the railroad grade, which will allow a lot of parking for both the port, the marine park. That's really the best thing we can do right at the moment. We cannot put parking meters on Wanapa. It's a state highway.
Right.
And if we did, they're gonna force people up into the residential area.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. The part of it is they are being forced in the residential. And that's the problem is the residents who, for the most part, do a pretty good job of keeping their vehicles where they need to be, are being overwhelmed by vehicles who don't seem to care how they park or where they park.
Are we gonna ask the businesses, please encourage your people to be respectful. Your employees, this has been a pet peeve of mine ever since I've been in city management. I've gone and talked to owners who want to park right in front of their business. It's my business. I have earned the right to park in front of my business. That's great, but where are your customers gonna park? So it's gonna be a transition. It's gonna get worse because not only we're gonna have Thunder Island, we're gonna have Fort Dismay.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be successful.
And we're kind of the victims of our own success, but I can't create land. I can only encourage the port to develop their property so that they can get more parking down there. Or we figure out how to do enforcement legitimately, legally, then I can do parking tickets. But there's a whole, can I give a parking ticket on a state highway? So those
No, and that's, and I get that. But my problem is, my issue is our citizens. That's what I'm trying to help out here. And we got a whole group down there in the downtown area that are having, and you've done a great job from the, helping with the drug activity and all that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate what they did. I mean, part of that comes from them pushing. So that's the nice thing about being an involved citizen is sometimes you push your council, your leadership to do some things, and you did and you've come up with a good thing, and you've brought before the council a good thing. I think it's going to really work really well for us. Well, obviously, it's already headed that direction. But, it's one of those things we have to keep continuing, and I don't know how to involve the citizens in the discussion, other than, because all the involvement they're getting right now is they're all upset with what's going on. How do we involve them in trying to help fix the problem? That's.
Is there anything in that ordination about how many parking spaces you need to have versus how much seating you offer?
Yes, it's all in the community development code, and they complied with the ordinance.
So then the ordinance is the problem.
No, the problem is the success.
They're popular is the problem.
We went down that weekend and ended up parking at the Best Western and walking up because you couldn't park up and down the streets or on the main street or in the parking lot.
Again, that was part of the construction because they had it all signed.
And it wasn't even full. If they had been able to put as many seats and seat as many people as that place could have sat, that would have been a huge mess. It was already a mess.
Summertime. Wait till
Yeah,
summer.
yeah, wait till
You haven't seen nothing.
And that's what we're expecting, we're expecting that, that's what we're having discussions, and that's what,
There was a problem, not enough parking spaces required for that place.
We live in a tourist town. There is no way you're gonna have enough parking spots for home tourists. Never. It's never gonna happen.
So, Tom,
yeah,
I'd just like to kind of make a comment.
Sure.
Talk about. Well, I've seen a situation before where, they put up signs that say residential parking only, and I don't know how effective it was, but I do know it was effective in combination with the businesses telling their patrons not to park in the residential area. So as their customers come in fact, I worked at a place where we had to remind our customers how to, where it's not a good idea to park or you'll get towed. But I don't know about
That's the
signage.
key. You said the key.
I know.
Don't get towed.
I know, yeah.
Enforcement.
Why, could you talk about tickets and things like that? Like, I've been to places where you park and you're towed, you can be there 30 minutes or whatever, and they actually have a lock they put on your tire. And I don't know the legal stuff, but, and then you pay to get that lock off. That way the city can make money but yeah, it's gonna get bad. You haven't seen nothing yet.
It looked like any real remedy.
And the additional problem, the additional problem is with Ford now charging for parking at Marine Park. I've had complaints from people, I'm not going down there, they'll go up and park on Wanapah and walk down to Marine Park, so they don't have to pay. So the port's pushing people up onto Main Street. Our businesses are are expanding and being more successful, and so they're pushing up into the residential area.
so, but the deal is we need to
We
continue,
tried everything that we could by code.
but we need to continue to talk about it, and that's what
Yep.
and we're stuck with that, because people are still gonna look for us to come up with some kind of an answer as best we can, so sometimes it's just gonna be little things, obviously right now, we can't help with a lot of these things. Let's see what happens from this.
Yep.
And then we'll hopefully pick little things off here and there, but we are gonna need to keep it in the back of our minds. Because it's gonna be right out there.
Well, it hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, I know. I know,
You've got,
Yeah, this is not.
I think the attractiveness of our street down there now is gonna draw even more people to wanna be in this.
we're a victim of
Yeah.
Well, in our own design, we have, Cascade Locks has historically had 4 crosswalks. Now, 2 official and 2 not so official. Now we've got 12 that I know of, official crosswalks.
Are there 12?
There's 6 and there's some on each.
They're double, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
they're four-way,
Okay,
type
all right,
thing.
yeah.
but they're still separate
Yeah.
crosswalks. And that's gonna, good or bad, that's gonna slow things down in the summertime.
And the bulb outs will slow people down. It's a traffic calming device. We're trying to do narrower lanes that slows people down.
Like, I gotta tell you, I drove through those cones and I'm going, man, I need to drive pretty slow through these cones. Cars come from the other direction, came flying by me. I'm going, there are people that even with the cones down there,
Oh.
and you're only going on basically one side, they're booking. But,
Today they were weaving through.
oh, jeez. Yep, okay. All right. Anyway, this is gonna be something, you folks are gonna be dealing with well after January. So I got another thing in here. I got a check from the Columbia Gorge Lions Club, and it's to the city of Cascade Locks for the amount of $500, and it's to be paid to the repair for the fire department brake. They had a brake issue, right? On the ambulance. The ambulance. So they got $500 from the Columbia Gorge Lions Club. Now the Columbia Gorge Lions Club is not active right now, right? So they're not active, but they still got somewhat of a bank account, and they are still community, still helping out the community all they can, which they always have been a really good supporter of our emergency services in. So thank you, Columbia Gorge Lions Club, for $500 going down to help, pay for the, a breakdown on our ambulance. All right, I'm good. So, other matters? Second session. Adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Move to second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.